Hey there, I'm Saga Twist. Welcome back to the channel. Tonight, I've got something chilling for you. A true horror story that takes place on a desolate stretch of road, a highway whispered about in local legends, and feared by those who've seen what lurks there. Whether you're here to relax, drift off, or get lost in something dark, just sit back, let the rain surround you, and listen closely. This is the haunted highway story you won't forget. Highway 43, northern Minnesota. October 15th, 11:47 p.m. The rain had been falling for hours. Not a storm, but a constant, insistent drizzle that blurred the treetops into long, wet shadows and painted the road in distorted streaks of reflected yellow from the centerline. Claire Sandin adjusted the wipers and leaned closer to the wheel, squinting through the darkness. Her gas gauge hovered just above the red, and the last sign she'd passed, some lonely green rectangle listing population numbers for towns she'd never heard of, had been 20 miles back. She hadn't seen another car in over an hour. Claire didn't scare easily. She'd logged hundreds of hours on the road for her documentary work, often chasing down folklore in forgotten corners of the Midwest. But there was something about this stretch of highway that felt different. Not just isolated, but wrong. The trees didn't move quite right in the wind, and the fog didn't rise so much as lean. As if something large were breathing just beyond the pines. And then she saw it. A narrow turnout, just ahead, where the trees peeled back slightly from the roadside. She hit the brakes. There was no reason for a turnout here. No rest stop signs, no ranger station, no trailhead. Just a narrow gravel loop swallowed in shadows and silence, and one object in the middle, a mile marker. Green, rusted, the numbers barely visible. But they were there. 313. Claire felt a chill creep up her arms despite the heat on high. She slowed to a crawl. She didn't remember ever seeing this marker on the map. She hadn't seen it on her way up this same road, earlier in the week. It wasn't listed in her atlas or her GPS history, it was just here now. She pulled off and stopped the car. The recording begins Claire's job, and obsession, was collecting oral legends, road ghosts, cryptid sightings, urban myths passed through county fairs and dive bars. She always recorded everything. So she reached across the passenger seat, picked up her field recorder, and clicked it on. October 15th, 11:51 p.m., just south of Big Fork. I've stopped at what appears to be an unlisted turnout. Mile marker 313. The fog is denser here, almost hanging. I'll describe the surroundings. She paused, then whispered, "There's something else. A tree, towering, hunched, and blacker than the rest, as if it absorbed rather than reflected the headlights. Its bark seemed wet, not from rain, but like it had been sweating. Long, pale strips of bark curled off it like peeling skin." Claire stepped out of the car with her recorder still running. The sound of the forest was off. No crickets, no wind, just a deep, distant hum, almost below hearing, like a sound. You felt in your ribs. She moved closer to the marker. Someone, or something, had scratched symbols into the back of it. Deep gouges, crudely shaped, spirals, branch-like lines, a circle with a mouth drawn where its eyes should be. Claire leaned in. These markings look hand-carved, recent, maybe within the last few days. There's a low click from the recorder, then static. It had shut off. She looked down. The light was still green. Batteries full. She clicked again. Nothing. The air behind her shifted. Cold, wet, and intentional, like a breath brushing the back of her neck. She turned. Nothing. But the tree. It was closer than before. She blinked. No, it couldn't be. It had been 20 feet back. Now it stood just yards away. The bark cracked, audibly, a sound like bones settling in the wrong order. Claire backed toward her car. The fog grew thicker. She opened the door, slammed it behind her, threw the car in reverse. As she backed out of the turnout, her headlights lit the mile marker one last time. And now, there was someone standing next to it. Not moving, not waving, just standing. Face turned toward her. Mouth open far, far too wide, like it had never learned to close. Claire's log, audio recovered later. I'm recording this from the highway. I didn't imagine that. I didn't. The tree moved. The mile marker. I checked my GPS history and there's no record of me turning off the road. It's like the turnout isn't real. But the fog was real. The thing near the marker was real. I'm heading back now. I just need to get this documented before it slips from my memory, before it takes root. Final moment. Claire drove for another hour without seeing a single other car. At 12:47 a.m., a ping hit her phone. An airdrop request. You passed the seed. No image, no sender, just the words. Her phone shut off immediately after, and the only thing still running? The recorder, which had been off the whole time. January 12th, Duluth, Minnesota. Case file, Dr. Sloan Kelmer, child psychologist patient, Evan R. Age, 6. Referral, unexplained drawings, chronic sleep disturbances, selective mutism. Evan hadn't spoken in 3 weeks. His parents said it started after a trip back from visiting relatives in Grand Rapids. The boy had been quiet during the ride, unusually so, and had pressed his face to the back window the entire way. They assumed he was carsick, until they got home, and he began to draw and draw and draw. At first, it was the usual childlike sketches, stick figures, trees, clouds. But then they became darker, more detailed, and always the same 2 images. A green road sign that read, Mile Marker 313, and beside it, a twisted black tree, taller than any drawn building, with veins in its trunk like capillaries, and tiny white faces hidden among the branches. Dr. Sloan Kelmer sat across from Evan in the playroom. The boy didn't speak, but when offered crayons, he took only 2 colors, green and black. He drew in bursts, fast, precise, frantic, as though he were copying something directly from his memory. Not imagination. Kelmer tried coaxing him with questions. Where is this tree? Did you see it on the way home? Is it from a dream? No answer, only drawing. The final picture he handed to her before the session ended was different. The tree was there, so was the sign. But now, Evan had added a small figure standing under the branches. A stick-figure child, with no face. That night, Kelmer's home office. Kelmer poured herself a glass of wine and stared at the drawing spread across her desk. She wasn't one to jump to paranormal conclusions. Her practice focused on trauma, grief, neurological tics. But something about Evan's drawings disturbed her deeply. She scanned the sign in one of the more detailed pictures and noticed something odd. The number 313 wasn't drawn like the rest. It wasn't hand-scribbled. It was pressed in, as if Evan had etched it with something pointed. And more than that, in infrared light, the paper showed layered impressions, like someone else's handwriting beneath the crayon. She traced the ridges with a pencil and slowly revealed faint letters. Don't tell the roots, they remember everything. Online anomaly, Reddit post, paranormal. Sub that same evening, Kelmer, curious and disturbed, posted a sanitized version of Evan's image to a niche subreddit for unsolved weirdness. She left out personal details, simply captioning it. Does anyone recognize this mile marker or tree? Is it real? Within minutes, replies flooded in. Bro, that tree's on Hawaii 43. It's like a local myth. I've seen it once. No one believes me, but my dash cam caught this exact sign last October. I deleted it later. Felt sick. You shouldn't draw it. Drawing is a kind of remembering. Remembering is permission. I saw that tree in a dream when I was a kid. It opened its bark and whispered. Then, a private message pinged her inbox. The sender had no username, just a symbol in place of a name. The message. He's not drawing from memory. He's drawing from the root memory. That's how the gardener finds new soil. Kelmer froze. She hadn't written about the gardener. Evan had never said that word. She looked down at the boy's final picture again. And this time, she noticed something she'd missed. The stick figure child. It wasn't alone anymore. In the new light, another figure had been added, so faint it barely registered in the shadows under the tree. Tall, long arms, eyes scratched out, and in one black stick hand, it held a lantern. Twist, Evan never drove down. That road Kelmer pulled up the Halverson family's travel records, gas receipts, GPS logs from their vehicle. There was no indication they ever passed, near mile marker 313. No physical evidence they'd even been near Highway 43. But somehow, Evan had drawn the tree, the road, the sign, the lantern bearer, which meant the story, the legend, was no longer confined to location. It was spreading, through memory, through stories, through drawings, and wherever it rooted, it waited. October 22nd, 2:13 a.m. Audio log recovered from abandoned vehicle, north of Effie, MN. If anyone finds this recording, I'm not drunk, I'm not dreaming. I haven't slept in 20 hours, and my phone's dead, and my car won't start, and there's a woman standing in the road. She's been there for 15 minutes, not moving, not blinking, just standing. And she's getting closer. 2 hours earlier, Tobias Toby. Hensley was returning from a job in International Falls, another dead-end carpentry gig patching together cabins for tourists who wouldn't last one winter up north. His truck was old, his back hurt, and he just wanted to get home to his trailer outside Duluth. But the rain had started around midnight, thin at first, then thicker and cold, too cold. His windshield steamed despite the defrost. Fog rolled across, the highway like river water, thick enough that the yellow lines vanished beneath it. That's when he noticed his headlights dimming, then flickering, then his phone buzzed. No Signal 1 airdrop request pending. He didn't recognize the name. It wasn't a name. It just said, "She's waiting." He tapped decline. That's when the radio came on by itself, even though it was turned off. Just static. Then, a voice. A woman's voice. "You missed your turn, Toby. But she can still find you." He slammed on the brakes. That's when he saw her. She stood in the rain. Toby couldn't say when she appeared. Maybe she had always been standing there just out of reach of the headlights. A figure on the shoulder, barefoot, soaked, her hair matted to her face. She wore a pale yellow coat, almost white in the rain, with buttons that seemed to shimmer. He leaned out the window. "Hey, you okay? You need help?" No answer. She lifted her head. Her face was blurred, as though the rain wasn't touching it the same way. Her eyes were wide, but the pupils had no color, only black. Then she spoke, but not with her lips, with his radio. "It's been 67 years. The tree remembers me. I just want to go home." Backstory fragment, found in Regional Missing Persons Archives. Name, Emmeline Ruth Kinnard. Last seen, October 22nd, 1958. Age, 24. Description, wore a yellow raincoat, disappeared en route to Hibbing. Vehicle found idling, door open, shoes in back seat. Final audio message left on reel-to-reel device mailed anonymously to her sister. Message ended with, "There's something in the fog, and I don't think it's the road that's moving. I think I am. Back to Toby. Toby blinked. She was closer now, just feet from the bumper. Her coat hissed as the water rolled off, it in thin rivulets that evaporated before hitting the ground. His breath fogged the cab. The air was no longer just cold. It was dead. Still. Like the highway had become a photograph. Then she reached out, not with her hands, with the storm itself. Rain struck the windshield in reverse, rising upward from the ground. The radio shrieked, "Turn around, or root here with me." Final audio entry, Toby's recorder. She's inside the car, but the doors never opened. I looked into her eyes and saw roots, thick and black, growing through people's memories, through places, through stories. I don't know if she's warning me, or if she's what's doing this, but there's one thing I know now. The road doesn't take you. It waits. And when you're empty enough inside, it sends her. Toby's truck was found, 3 days later empty, still idling, headlights off. Inside, a recorder, soaked but intact, on the passenger seat, a yellow raincoat, still dripping, still warm. November the 2nd, 4:44 p.m. Private forum post. Subnet echoes. Encrypted paranormal research channel. Posted by user L4NT3Ren. Zawa 1. Forget ghosts, forget cryptids. Mile marker 313 is not a place. It's a coordinate embedded in shared trauma, and the lantern is the key. Who was L4NT3RN Axuo1? Real name, Elliot Varn, age, 29. Background, former cartographic linguist and deep code analyst for a private intelligence firm. He specialized in pattern anomalies in collective datasets, everything from traffic flow to dream pattern logs and sleep studies. But his obsession began when he got lost on Highway 43. In 2021, Elliot's dash cam went dark for exactly 17 minutes and 9 seconds during a solo drive through northern Minnesota. When the feed resumed, his car was facing the opposite direction. No U-turn, no tire marks. Just a flashing 313 notification on his phone, with no known app attached. The app vanished as quickly as it appeared. So Elliot did what he always did. Analyze. The numbers behind the fog over the next year, he collected. 49 Reddit posts describing unmapped turnouts near Highway 43. 11 reports of a lantern-bearing figure spotted by truckers during heavy fog. 8 police statements about abandoned vehicles, all near the same mile radius. 4 recorded sightings of rooted figures in wet clothing who did not appear on dashcam footage. He built an algorithm to map mile marker anomalies, plotting reports of 313 onto satellite data. The results were impossible. The coordinates formed a spiral, growing outward in logarithmic pattern, centered around one origin point. 47.93667 N. 93.56 W. The center of that spiral, a missing fire tower in the woods, burned down in 1958, the same year Emmeline Kinnard vanished. The lantern. Theory Elliot's final theory was simple but horrifying. The lantern isn't a person, it's a signal, a beacon used to draw memory into a shape. And when you get close, physically or mentally, the shape becomes real. He believed the lantern bearer was a manifestation of invitation, an ancient, self-replicating symbol that used stories, drawings, trauma, and shared fear to replicate, not unlike a conceptual virus. And once you saw the lantern, whether through a dream, a story, or a roadside sighting, it meant the roots had found your name. The field test, final expedition. Log November 5th, 3:13 a.m. Elliot drove to the coordinates. He wore a body cam and recorded live. Here are his last known statements. transcribed from that footage. I see the stump. The tower really was here, burnt down, black roots scorched into the ground like veins. There's a sound, not quite wind, like breathing through wet leaves. There's a... God. Okay, I see it now. It's not a man holding the lantern. It's the lantern itself, floating, spinning, like it's looking for something. I think it's looking for... me. It's not a light. It's an eye. Final moments, Elliot's live stream cut to static, but the last frame before the disconnect shows a flare of green light illuminating dozens of stick-like figures in the trees, watching him, smiling too wide, and all holding small, flickering lights, like they were welcoming him home. His car was found abandoned a week later. Inside, a lantern, still glowing, but no fuel, no bulb, no heat, just a soft green light, and in the dust on the dash, the spiral is always growing. November 12th, U.S. Forest Service Incident Report, filed by Ranger William Bill Granger. Stationed, Chippewa National Forest, MN status, retired, involuntary. Classification, internal review, unexplained incident bill. Granger had worn the same uniform for 27 years. He knew the woods. He respected the dark. He'd walked every marked trail, every unofficial path, every creek bed that sometimes turned to mud in spring and vanished in winter. He didn't get lost. But that morning, while inspecting a report of illegal campers near the northern boundary line, the trail disappeared. No fallen trees, no washed-out creek. Just gone, like it had never been carved at all. He radioed dispatch. "Hey, it's Bill. I'm at Sector 4A, trails missing. Trees look wrong, gonna circle back." The radio replied with static, then a voice. But it wasn't dispatch. 4, 3, 1, 3. 4, 3, 1, 3. Over and over, and 3, 1, 3. He turned off the radio, thought it was interference, until he saw the first marker. Mile. Marker 4313. There was no such marker in the park. It was metal, green, planted into the soil like any DOT sign, but rusted beyond reason. Covered in vines. Beneath it, carved into the bark of a nearby pine, "Go forward to forget. Go backward to remember." Bill walked forward. He doesn't remember much after that, but he remembers what came next. 3 hours later, found wandering by search party. He was barefoot, uniform ripped, eyes bloodshot. All he kept saying was, "The trees were watching me sleep," and "I woke up and the sky had teeth." Post-recovery interview. Excerpt Q. "You said the trees were watching you. Can you clarify what that means?" A. "You ever seen a tree shift when it thinks you're not looking? Like it inhales when you blink? They weren't trees. They were holding still. Pretending." Q. "You also mentioned a second mile marker, 313. Did you see it?" A. "Yeah, that one wasn't planted. It grew." Q. "Grew?" A. "Out of a stump, like it was waiting to bloom." Q. "Anything else?" A. "There were faces on the trunks. Dozens. Whispering. All of them had lanterns for mouths." Aftermath. Bill retired the next week. Moved out of state. Hasn't set foot in the woods since. But 3 days later, the ranger station received a package. No return address. Inside, a single photograph, black and white, grainy, old. It shows a young boy, maybe 5, standing next to a metal post labeled Mile 313. But the boy's shadow is wrong. It's long, thin, and in its hand is a lantern. November 17th, 6:29 p.m. Emergency call transcript. Call disconnected caller, Jamie Renner, age 33. Location, Highway 43, northbound, approx. Mile 309, 314. Operator, 911, what's your emergency? Jamie, shaky. I need a tow. My car died near a marker. I think it said 313, but that's not right? Operator. Are you safe? Is the car off the road? Jamie. There's a man walking toward me now. He's waving. Says he knows a shortcut back to town. Operator. Jamie, stay in your vehicle. Help is on the... Disconnection. Audible click and faint whispering. Earlier that evening, Jamie had been visiting her sister in Bemidji. They hadn't spoken in 5 years, not since their father disappeared. She was driving back to Duluth when her car began to sputter. Not like it was out of gas, more like the engine forgot how to run. Her GPS went blank. The radio clicked on. A voice spoke a single phrase. Take the quiet exit. She thought she imagined it, until a man appeared, in her rear view. The man in the brown hat, he looked to be in his late 60s. Tan coat, wide-brimmed hat, worn boots caked with old mud. He smiled like someone remembering an inside joke. He didn't knock on the window. He didn't speak at first, just pointed behind them, toward a narrow road that hadn't been there. A second ago, a handmade sign hung crooked from a tree. Quiet exit, 0.3 miles. She lowered the window an inch. You'll want to turn off, miss, he said. You've gone too far. The road's thin up here. Too easy to fall through it. Fall through the road? She repeated. He nodded solemnly. Happens all the time. But down in Bellwether, we stay still. Still's safe. Bellwether. She followed him. She told herself it was better than waiting in the dark. The road twisted oddly, not quite matching the angles of her steering. The trees leaned inward. The headlights barely reached. Past the hood, then it opened. A town, nestled in a hollow. 20, maybe 30 buildings, a diner, a gas station. A small motel with a neon sign that read, "Rooms always ready," but no lights in the windows. Yet somehow, people were there, standing perfectly still, all of them facing her, wearing the same slight smile. A woman in the diner Jamie walked inside, calling out. The bell above the door didn't ring. It just thumped, like a heart-losing rhythm. At the counter sat a middle-aged woman in a yellow apron. She stirred a cup of coffee that didn't steam. "You're not supposed to see us," the woman said softly. "Excuse me?" Jamie asked. "Not yet," the woman whispered. "You're still alive." What is this place? Why are you all just..." Jamie trailed off. She realized something horrifying. None of them were breathing. A man appears behind her. It's the old man again. Brown hat, muddy boots. But this time he's holding something behind his back. "We don't get many fresh ones," he said cheerfully. Jamie backed away, heart pounding. "I just want to leave." "We all did," he replied. "But if you..." "Stay very quiet, Bellwether won't hear you." "Who is Bellwether?" Jamie whispered. "Not who. What?" He smiled wider now, and showed her what was in his hand, a wooden lantern, flickering with green light. She ran through the street, past the gas station where a man with a broken jaw nodded politely, past the motel where all the guests pressed their faces to the windows, mouths open in silent screams, back toward the B road. Except the exit wasn't there anymore. Only a mile marker, 313, but this one was wrong. It had 2 shadows. Final update. Jamie's car was found 2 days later, engine untouched. Inside, her phone, screen cracked but still recording. The final 10 seconds, footsteps in gravel. Jamie's voice whispering. "They're following me, but not moving." Then silence. Then, a woman's voice, not Jamie's. "One more room ready. Name, Harold P. Lentz. Age, 71. Occupation, former, highway sign technician, Minnesota Department of Transportation, Mendoti. Years, Active, 1981-2017. I didn't make that sign. That was the first thing Harold said during the interview. He was retired, spending his days fishing and reading detective novels in his farmhouse near Grand Rapids. No cell phone, no Wi-Fi. Just a wall of old blueprints rolled in rubber bands, organized by year and stretch. He remembered every sign he ever installed, every mile marker, except one. The discovery. It started when a journalist from a local podcast, Fog and Grain, Haunted North, asked Harold about mile marker 313. The marker had gained infamy in urban legend circles, and the host, Sandra Birch, wanted to find its origin. Harold laughed at first. "There's no 313, he said. "Highway. 43 caps out at 307. Anything past that is forest, state-owned. No roads, no mile counts." She showed him a photo. The metal sign, green and white, sun-faded, chipped, and clearly aged. Mile 3113, Harold's smile dropped. That's my font. That's my stencil. But I never... Jesus. He excused himself, went into his basement, and came back holding a box of schematics labeled HWY43, Final Install Plan. 1996, he unrolled the sheet. Sandra looked. Mile 313 wasn't there. But something was. A faint scribbled correction in pencil. Almost erased. 313. Provisional. Hold for Bell route access. Sandra asked what that meant. Harold looked like he was going to be sick. There's no route called Bell. That night, Harold didn't sleep. The wind was off. It carried something wet with it. A smell like leaves and pennies. He dreamt of his workshop. Blueprints rolled and unrolling on their own, as if the plans were rewriting themselves. He woke up in his chair to find his fingernails caked with dirt. His boots soaked. The basement door open, and his blueprint drawer marked archived, decommissioned had been emptied, except one plan was still inside. He hadn't seen it in decades. The forgotten project, Echo Lane Bypass. There was no record of that project on file, but the document was real. A map of an access road that snaked through uninhabited woodland north of Highway 43. And there, centered, labeled in red, Mile 313, Bell Access Point, Lantern Line 1. There was also a note in the margin. Approved by D.S. Kinnard. Harold dropped the paper. Kinnard? That name. His hands began to shake. Emmeline Kinnard, the girl who vanished in 1958. Her father had worked for MnDOT, but he died in 1971, years before the plans were made. The scratch at the door. The night before Sandra planned to return and record a second interview, Harold called her. His voice raw and shaky. "I think I made that sign. I think I made it in my sleep." He said he found a single green post in his garage that he didn't remember cutting. The same length as a mile marker. He'd thrown it in the woods behind his house. But now something was scratching at the basement door again. Not knocking. Scratching. Slowly, rhythmically, like it was trying to draw something in the wood. That was the last time anyone heard from Harold. Sandra Birch's podcast. Update. 2 weeks later, Sandra posted a bonus episode. In it, she plays a voicemail Harold left her, one she received after he'd already vanished. There's something under the road, not beneath it, inside it, like a layer of memory. And every time someone drives over mile marker 313, it wakes up a little more. Tell them not to follow the signs. The signs don't point the way. They point to you. Date, December 1st District, Willow Hollow School District, Itasca County, MN Bus. Number Demer 84. Route, Northfield to Millbank, Elementary Incident. Type, temporary loss of contact. Duration of disappearance, 3 hours, 17 minutes. Number of students. On board, 22. Driver, Janice Beamer, 58. What happened? 7:38 a.m. Janice Beamer began her regular route. The forecast was clear, visibility low but manageable. As the bus approached a rural bend near an unmarked turnoff, thick fog blanketed the road. Janice reported hearing a low humming noise, like power lines in heavy rain. She remembers, the fog wasn't just fog. It felt like driving into a mouth, like something closed behind us. At 7:42 a.m., the bus vanished from GPS. The route, dashcam cut to static. 3 hours later, 11:00 a.m., the bus rolled into the Millbank Elementary parking lot, exactly on its original route. But something was wrong. Janice was crying behind the wheel, lips trembling. She kept whispering. They didn't talk. The whole time they didn't talk. The children disembarked single file, calm, silent, eyes wide. When questioned by teachers and parents, none of them spoke. Not once. Behavioral shift over the next week. All 22 children drew identical pictures during art class. A crooked house with sharp eaves, no windows but one. A glowing green lantern in the attic. Several of the children began sleepwalking. Parents reported waking to find their kids standing at the front door in the early hours, staring out into the dark. One boy, Toby Lang, began stacking stones into towers, always 13 stones exactly. When asked why, so the trees don't forget where I am. The tunnel's maintenance workers at Millbank Elementary discovered deep scratches beneath the bus, gouged into the undercarriage, as if something clawed at it. When Janice was shown the damage, she fainted. After waking, she said, "We weren't driving on pavement anymore. We were underground. The road turned to teeth. She's now under psychiatric care. She's drawn the crooked house 27 times since her admission. Each time it's closer in the frame. The last drawing? It was a sketch of her own house, with the lantern in the upstairs window, audio analysis, the bus recording. The dashcam data was corrupted, except for a 19-second audio clip recovered by forensic technicians. Most of it is low rumble, but around the 11-second mark, a child's voice is heard, very clearly. She's not our real driver anymore. Then silence. Then a second child whispering, "She changed when we passed mile marker 313 district." Response: all 22 children were removed from school and placed in home care. None have returned. In fact, none have been seen in public since. But last Tuesday, a parent filed a police report. Her daughter, Ellie, had disappeared from the house, just for 5 minutes. When she returned, her feet were muddy. She said, "Sorry, I forgot my lantern. Operator handle, Breaker 7. Real name, Alan Marston. Age, 64. Location, Aitkin County. MN license, technician class. WOM, the first transmission. It was just after 2 a.m. on a snow-heavy December night when Alan Marston first heard it. He was scanning old ham bands, something he did more out of nostalgia than necessity. Most of the good chatter died out years ago, replaced by dead air and distant weather stations. But that night, a signal bled through at 160 meters, on an unused emergency frequency long since decommissioned. It was faint, scratchy, but Alan heard it clear as anything. I don't know where I am. I thought I was on Highway 43, but it won't let me off. There's no end, just trees, and that damn mile marker keeps coming back." Alan leaned forward, heart suddenly pounding. He tried to respond. No answer. Then the static returned. Night 2 at precisely 2:13 a.m., the same frequency came alive again. But it wasn't the same voice this time. It was a child. "Is this the way to Grandma's? I see the lantern now. It says I'm close. It says I just have to follow the teeth." A moment of silence. Then a different voice. Male, breathless. "There's something in the ditch. Watching. Don't stop for it. Don't ever stop for it." Alan recorded everything. He contacted other ham operators. Only one other person had heard it, a woman named Ruth, south of Cloquet. She sent him her log. The names of the voices matched missing persons reports. Cross-referencing, Alan went deep. Police logs, Reddit threads, county infrastructure reports, everyone missing near mile marker 313. They were speaking into radios that hadn't been used since the 80s, and Alan heard one voice he couldn't explain. His daughter's. "Daddy, I think I lost my road. The green man says I have to build it again. Is that why you made maps?" His daughter, Nora, died in 1999. She was 6. Alan hadn't said her name in 15 years. He smashed the receiver. But the next night, the signal played through his wall speakers. He hadn't even turned them on. The loop begins. After that, it happened every night. Different voices, same themes. Mile markers counting the wrong direction. Roads that curved back on themselves. Fog with teeth. And something called the lantern line. One man, sobbing. I pulled over to help a woman, but her face was a tunnel. Another. I've been driving for hours. My fuel's out. But the car's still moving. The road won't stop. And the last message Alan received, the one that made him unplug everything and bury the rig in the snow. "Breaker 7, you shouldn't have listened. The signal goes both ways. We're not asking for help. We're asking for directions to you." Police report. Filed Alan went missing on December 9th. His cabin was locked from the inside. Ham rig, missing. All logs deleted. Only one thing remained. Carved into the wall above his desk in shaky block letters. Tuned too far. Update. Pirate broadcast. Detected on January 1st. Dozens of amateur radio enthusiasts reported a strange 17-second pirate signal on the same abandoned emergency band. It was static, then whispers. Then a single voice repeated 3 times. "Breaker 7, come home. Your marker's ready. Forum thread. Guide how I escaped mile marker. 313. Please read." Posted on March 3rd at 2:13 a.m. Username, Hexadreamer, 77. Status, account deleted within 12 hours. Post count, 1 the post, preserved via archive. I don't expect anyone to believe this. You can downvote me into the dirt, I don't care. But if you're reading this, you've probably seen the mile marker too. Or worse, you're stuck on the loop. I got out. It took 5 nights, 2 gallons of blood, and 1 really bad deal. But I got out. I only have time to tell you the rules. Follow them, or you'll stay there forever. Rules for survival. Mile marker 313. Never stop at the marker. Even if you see someone waving, bleeding, crying, don't stop. They're not people anymore. Don't say your name aloud. Names are keys. If they get your name, they'll wear it like a jacket. You'll keep driving, and they'll be living your life. If you see the crooked house, do not look in the window. It only appears once you've been marked. The lantern is not a light. It's a watcher. Turn your mirrors inward. You don't want to see what's behind you. It's not behind you. It's waiting for you to check. Ignore the signs that ask questions, especially ones that say, "Are you still sure?" Or, "Have you been counted?" Answering confirms your location. Do not give anyone gas, no matter what they say. The cars are traps. The people in them are hollow. One of them still wears my brother's face. If you hear children laughing, pull over and turn off the ignition. Immediately. That means the road wants you to forget something. If you keep driving, it'll take more than memory. I shouldn't be here. I think something followed me back. My lights flicker when I sleep. My radio only plays the sound of my own breathing. I think the crooked house is showing up closer every night, in real life. Last night, it was in the reflection of my microwave door. Don't trust the next. Post you see here, it won't be from me. I'm going dark. Follow up. Posts 10 minutes later, a reply appeared. Username, Hexadreamer 77. Post. If you made it out, why are you still writing? You forgot Rule 8. You don't get to warn others. Moderator. Note. User account. Banned due to suspicious activity and IP spoofing from non-terrestrial coordinates. The mirror signal. Trend following the post. Hundreds of users across different horror and paranormal forums reported strange activity while reading it. Lights dimming during rule number 3. Screens flickering at rule number 5. Reflections showing movement not mirrored in real time. One user, LacyVane18, commented. After I read the whole list out loud, my phone screen glitched, and my voice played back 5 seconds later, whispering, "Too late." The PDF incident. Someone compiled the rules into a downloadable PDF titled Mile Marker 313, Traveler's Manual. Within 72 hours, the link was flagged for malware and high-risk hallucination triggers. The PDF is now inaccessible, but its file name continued appearing in download folders, even on clean systems. The file would regenerate on reboot. Inside it, one additional rule had been added in red text. Rule 0. You never escape. You just get followed. Final comment before thread deletion. One final anonymous comment appeared before the thread was scrubbed from the server. I live near a forest road with no name. Tonight, the mailbox outside had a number painted on it. It wasn't mine. It said 313. But I don't live near any highway. Excerpt from the Lost Logging Journal of Ellis Grant. Date, October 5th, 1926. Location, northern Minnesota, future site of Highway 43. Hollis ain't come back from the Ridge Trail. Took his lantern, green-glassed. We lit 5 fires to guide him in, but nothing came. Just wind in the branches and that low drumming, like a heartbeat under the dirt. Might have fallen into the ravine. Or, and I don't say this lightly, he might have followed the wrong light. The Hollis Whitaker Incident. Hollis Whitaker, a seasoned logger with 9 winters under his belt, vanished near what would one day become mile marker 313. Known for his independence and refusal to follow superstition, he was last seen wandering north into dense, unmapped woods to retrieve lost equipment. He carried a green glass lantern, a rarity in those days, said to have been passed down from his grandfather, who swore it could see things that don't want seen. The lantern was found 2 weeks later, still glowing faintly beneath a canopy of black pine, resting beside a neatly arranged skeleton. But the bones weren't all his. The arrangement investigators at the time noted the following. Bones were assembled, upright in the shape of a crude 313. Hollis's skull was placed in the center of the 3A second skull. Animal or human, never confirmed, was wedged beneath it, smiling. No animal scavengers had disturbed the scene. The body was completely stripped, but not torn, clean, ritualistic. Local folklore begins. The loggers never returned to the Ridge Trail. It was marked with 3 slashes in the bark of a black pine and nicknamed the Lantern Path. Over the Bauma years. 1932. A hunter reportedly saw a tall man with no jaw and a glowing green light where his eyes should have been, drifting through the trees silently. 1940s. Workers surveying for road construction reported hearing someone whisper their names from just off the tree line. 1954. A child's body was found lying in a circle of pine cones, untouched by rot, lantern clasped in their hands. The coroner found dirt in the child's lungs, as if they'd breathed the forest floor. The road is paved in 1961. The logging trail was destroyed to make way for the stretch of Highway 43 that would later become infamous. Construction halted twice due to machinery failure and worker injuries, many of them involving eyesight loss and severe disorientation. A foreman, Clyde Minter, refused to return to the site after claiming he saw a man holding a green light inside a tree. When asked what he meant, he said, "The tree had no bark, just skin." Unconfirmed reports, lantern sightings, Since 2003, dozens of drivers have claimed to see a pale figure standing just off the road near mile marker 313, especially during heavy fog or snow. Details vary, but always include a flickering green lantern that sways, not from wind, but like it's breathing antlers, sometimes faint, as if part of his shadow mouth sewn shut, or missing entirely, appears when your GPS glitches, or the radio static lines up in threes. One driver said, "He didn't step onto the road, he waited, like he wanted me to invite him." She kept driving. But her rearview mirror shattered on its own. Later, she received a voicemail from a number with 13 digits. The only words? "Wrong turn. Try again." The Green Lantern Man. Theories. A spirit that guards the threshold of the loop. A former victim of mile marker 313, who now serves it. A remnant of something older than the road itself. Given form when the first bones were arranged in threes, what is clear? He does not chase. He waits, and those who stop, those who acknowledge him, are never seen again. Image captured. December 2022. Dashcam video from a semi-truck passing mile marker 313 during a snowstorm caught a faint glow moving between trees. The video glitched at frame 313. Zooming into the frame shows a human-shaped figure holding a green light. The driver died 3 days later of a heart attack. His final dashcam footage ended with these words, not from him, but spoken from the rig's CB. "He doesn't carry a lantern. He is the lantern. Rest stop designation, Highway 43, southbound, mile marker 311. Name, unofficial, the Nowhere Station, operational period, 1974-1989. Status, decommissioned. Though it still appears on modern GPS initial reports, travelers first began complaining about the rest stop in the late 70s, but they didn't all call it the same thing. Some maps marked it as Lantern Way Station, Crow's View Point, Highland Bend Stop-Off. Others found it completely unlisted, yet all descriptions matched. A single rust-colored building with one vending machine, one bathroom, and a wall-sized state map, faded by a sun that never shone there. And outside, an empty parking lot that always had one lone vehicle. Make and model, inconsistent, but never occupied. The mirror inside the men's restroom, above a cracked porcelain sink, is a mirror that doesn't reflect what's behind you. Instead, it shows a long, unfamiliar road flanked by black trees, a glowing mile marker 00, a shadow in the distance that gets closer every time you blink. Some travelers reported watching the figure reach the glass before vanishing. One man punched the mirror in panic. The shards fell to the floor, but when he turned to leave, the mirror was whole again, and so was his reflection, despite the blood still dripping from his real hand. Incident report, March 12, 1983. Victim, Grace Leonard, age 41. Found, sitting in her running vehicle, parked outside the rest stop condition, catatonic, eyes wide, hands gripping the wheel hard enough to bruise. Whispered one sentence repeatedly. "I only looked to fix my hair." After 6 hours of silence, she screamed once, then died of cardiac arrest. Autopsy revealed pine needles in her lungs. Eyes clouded over as if from extreme age, she had stopped for 5 minutes. She'd been gone for 3 days. The machines, 2 vending machines, stood side by side. Left, snacks. Right, drinks. All the labels were from brands that hadn't existed since the 1970s, some from companies that never existed at all. One known, to appear repeatedly, Lanterna chips, salted fog flavor. A teenager once ate a pack as a dare. He collapsed moments later, screaming, "It tastes like the house! It tastes like the teeth!" No pulse was found for 12 minutes. He woke up reciting coordinates to an unmarked forest road that doesn't exist on satellite images, but does. On paper maps from 1931, the parking lot, that moves, travelers began to notice something strange. When parked at the rest stop, their GPS coordinates shifted. Very slowly, south, then east, then nowhere. Some tried driving off. They returned to the highway, but the next mile marker read 312, and then 313. One trucker left the rest stop only to find an identical one 30 minutes later. He looped 4 times before disappearing entirely. His rig was later found abandoned at the original rest stop. In the driver's seat, a melted roll of quarters. In the cup holder, a note, written in pencil. Still haven't made it to the bathroom. Displacement events, some visitors report. Time gaps. A woman entering the restroom returns to her car to find it covered in snow. It's July. A man walks in wearing modern clothes, walks out wearing a 1985 county fair shirt, sun-faded and torn. A family swears they only stopped for 10 minutes, but a week later, they're found wandering miles away, barefoot and sunburned, with no memory of the highway. Every clock inside the rest stop is broken at 3:13. Even analog watches stop ticking once you cross the building's threshold. The visitor log found in a locked cabinet behind the map board in 1998, after vandals forced the door. It contains a single page, name, destination, time, stage remarks G. Leonard Duluth 3 days. Saw my son, he's still 6. F. Hanley not listed. No exit, please. No exit. Immersive Barnwood, Chicago, 17 minutes. Don't follow the humming. Blank entry. Home. Too long. It's feeding now. Currently. Despite being marked as closed and condemned, the rest stop still appears on GPS. Some travelers say they only see it when they need it most. Tired, cold, desperate to pee or sleep. Those who don't stop report hearing something behind them for the next 313 miles. A sound like someone dragging one foot on gravel. Some say it eventually fades. Others say it climbs inside the car. Missing person report, name. Eveline Evie. Moorcroft. Age 9. Date of disappearance, October 17, 1956. Location, Moorcroft Farm, outside Northbridge Township. MN status, never found the disappearance. Evie went missing during the final days of BAM. Harvest. Witnesses last saw her walking alongside the old county road near the north fence line, dragging a burlap sack and humming. Her parents claimed she had been talking to someone who wasn't there for weeks, and crafting strange little dolls from shed deer hair, old nails, and wire stripped from the chicken coop. Her final words to her mother. He told me, where the other side is. It's where the dirt smiles. Only one item was recovered during the search. A doll left at the base of a tree, its arms made of wasp legs bound with black thread. Road expansion and unearthed secrets in 1960. Construction of what would become Highway 43 cut directly through the Moorcroft property. That same stretch now includes mile marker 313. During excavation, workers unearthed dozens of child-sized shoes buried in a semicircle, facing west. No bones, no names, only the smell of burning sugar and rot. The construction foreman requested a pause, but the project pushed on. That foreman, Carl Yespin, later reported seeing a girl's shadow in the ditch on multiple nights. He claimed, "She didn't look at me, but she knew I saw her." And the next day, one of my men lost his voice. Jespin went missing a year later. His boots were found, waterlogged, beside the ditch at 313 Modern Sightings. The ditch girl most reports come from solo drivers, especially those traveling late at night or in heavy fog. Common elements: a small barefoot girl in a white dress, walking with her back turned, hair so long it covers her face, a crude doll dangling from her hand. Humming, discordant, like a music box played in reverse. She never approaches. She waits. But if you stop, or worse, if you call out, she asks a question, the same one always. What did you bury to forget? The unlucky ones who answer. Those who respond are found days later, often in their cars, their mouths filled with hair and earth, eyes wide open and blind. Medical notes list causes of death as airway blockage, soil and organic material, cardiac, arrest from extreme fear, self-inflicted injuries from scratching at the eyes. In one case, the word sister was carved into the dashboard in the victim's own fingernails. He had no known siblings. Children are more susceptible passengers. Under 13 are far more likely to see her first. Parents have reported children turning to look out the back window with blank expressions, talking to the girl in the ditch, as if she were already in the car, asking questions they couldn't possibly know the answers to, such as where their grandparents were buried, or why their mother cries in the shower. One 11-year-old wrote in her travel journal, "Evie says my dad lied. She says the barn didn't fall on its own." There was no barn on their route. There was, however, a fire on the property near 313 in 1994, ruled an accident. The doll a few travelers have found dolls resembling those Evie was said to make, stuck in their tires or grills after passing 313. Each one is different. Each one includes human hair, confirmed via lab test, a central piece of wire bent into a key, a note tied to the doll's neck, scrawled in childlike handwriting, "I remember where you put them." Unexplained broadcast on September 13th, 2022. Local AM station WLMN 1440 received an unknown transmission during a late-night weather update. A child's voice cut through the static, reciting, "I know what you buried. The girl in the ditch knows too. If you forget again, she'll climb in." The signal ended with the sound of a soft knock, as if on glass. The studio's only window looks out onto Highway 43. Current status state officials claim the ditch is no different than any other. Road maintenance crews, however, avoid mile 313 during fog advisories, unofficially citing equipment issues and crew refusals. A recent MNDOT internal memo included the following line, buried in a staff rotation request: "If you see a girl in the ditch, do not stop, do not speak, do not remember her." Nickname: The Backward Man, first reported sighting, winter of 1982. Common locations: mile markers 312-314, primarily on foggy mornings between 3 and 4 a.m. Initial incident report: truck driver Wayne Ellison, heading south from Grand Rapids, pulled over briefly near mile 313 after experiencing nausea and vertigo. When he stepped outside, he spotted a man dressed in a priest's cassock, slowly walking backward down the shoulder of the road. Wayne called out. The man did not respond, but when Wayne took a step forward, the man paused and said, without turning, "You shouldn't be behind me." That was the last coherent thing Wayne ever said. He was found wandering barefoot near a frozen pond 20 miles off route, repeating, his knees bent wrong, like they remembered too much. Pattern of appearances: he is always seen, wearing either a priest's robe, a surveying vest, or an outdated railroad uniform. Walking exactly backward, never turning. Avoiding all eye contact, yet seeming to know when he's being watched. Witnesses say his movements are smooth, deliberate, as if he knows where every step once was, and will be again. Audio phenomenon: several dash cams and cell phone mics attempting to record him produce only a low, wet scraping. A heartbeat at 84 BPM, exact match across multiple devices. A looped whisper: "Don't follow the bend. The bend follows you." In one recording, a whisper not heard during filming was found layered under the audio. It says, "Turn around and see what's chasing you." The face few have seen the backward man's face. Those who have, change. A 2021 witness, a 33-year-old named Mark Foss, claimed he stopped at mile 313 to stretch and saw a man walking backward along the woods. Curious, he followed, filming on his phone. When the figure paused, Mark circled to try and face him. He never showed anyone the footage, but days later, Mark posted a single tweet. His mouth was in the wrong place. His eyes were made of roads. Mark deleted all his accounts and was later found in his garage. Walls covered in charcoal rubbings of mile marker signs that don't exist. Some read 313.1, 0.3, 999.9, 313 The Loop Theory. One paranormal investigator, Dr. Eli Stathis, has theorized the backward man isn't moving backward. He's undoing, reversing footprints, rewinding choices. He's walking out of a memory too large for the living. Dr. Stathis vanished in 2019. His last known transmission was a radio call from Highway 43. He stepped off the road, but I heard him behind me. How is he behind me if I'm the one facing forward? The ritual of the bend-a-page from a 1940s roadside cult manual refers to a practice called walking the bend, meant to ward off those who've died in directionless ways. Instructions: face east at 3:13 a.m. Take 13 steps backward without looking over your shoulder. On the final step, say, "I know where the road ends. I will not ask for a new one. If you hear breathing, run. If you hear footsteps, kneel. If you hear nothing, you've been seen." The final letter in. 2004. A letter was found buried near the base of mile marker 313, wrapped in tar paper and tucked inside a crushed canteen. I met him in the fog. He wore my father's boots, said I left the road wrong, said he's here to return me. He walks backward so I don't see where I'm going. But I can still feel it. I'm being remembered by something that hasn't happened yet. Current advisory. The Minnesota Department of Transportation issued an internal guideline. If personnel report seeing an individual walking backward along Highway 43, especially between markers 312-314, they are to stay in their vehicle, activate hazard lights, and refrain from all contact. Do not report sightings to local law enforcement. Instead, notify the 313 Division liaison immediately. No such liaison exists in public records. First noted incident, September 3, 1995. Exit designation, unofficial. Exit 313R. Restoration, reported road. Name, Cold Lantern Way map. Status, not listed on any state or GPS maps. Sign, description. Rusted metal placard, often crooked. Text, exit 313R, restoration. Next right, the turn. You don't remember taking driver's report seeing the sign for exit 313R when tired, distracted, or deep in thought. They often don't remember making the turn, only realizing they're on a road they don't recognize. Asphalt worn and veined like dried skin. No reflectors. Thick trees lining either side, leaning inward as if whispering, a red light somewhere. Above, like a star that refuses to blink. No radio stations function past the turn. All clocks stop at 313. Even digital dashboards, the road to restoration once on Cold Lantern Way, signs become increasingly strange. Cleanse the tires, cleanse the mind. You must shed what you carried, this road forgives nothing, but it offers. Piece a half-mile in. The pavement grows wet, even on dry nights. The smell of pine is replaced by something metallic, like wet coins and burnt teeth. Many say they see other cars on the road, just ahead or far behind, moving without drivers. Some follow. Others are followed. The first turnaround. 0.1 mile. In, travelers reach an intersection that shouldn't be there. 3 options. A gravel loop with a faded sign. If you remember what you did, turn back. A ramp downward, surrounded by old lanterns flickering without fuel. A dirt path marked "I" by a blank sign. But if you stare too long, you begin to see your own name carved there. Those who attempt to turn around and leave from this point often find their car's fuel gauge is stuck at empty, Even if full GPS loops them back to the same intersection, they return to the highway. But all the mile markers now say 313, regardless of distance. The restoration center, roughly 3.13 miles in, there's a building, or maybe just an outline of one, like a motel long burned away. Travelers report a reception desk, empty, but with a guest book open. Names written in red ink, many ending with slashed out lines. A bell that rings on its own, not sharply, but with a wet clang, like metal dropped into water. Some doors are labeled with phrases instead of numbers. The room for things unsaid. Here, your shadow sleeps first. Where they went when you looked away, you may hear knocking. From behind these doors, sometimes begging, sometimes laughter in reverse. The mirror room, one consistent feature in all reports. A small square room with a single mirror mounted on a wall of soot-colored tile. The mirror does not reflect you. It reflects a you sitting behind the wheel of your car, your mouth moving as if answering a question. Something in your passenger seat, obscured but breathing. If you look long enough, the mirror opens. Not physically, but like a feeling of motion behind the glass. You'll hear the phrase, "You can't fix what you buried, but you can join it." Some walk forward. They are never seen again. Return attempts. Those who escape the road report waking up parked on the shoulder near mile marker 313, sometimes days or weeks later, with an empty passenger seat filled with pine needles and black. Thread all their devices wiped or corrupted, a letter in the glove compartment, written in their own handwriting, reading, "I forgave you, but you didn't come back." Secondary phenomenon. Passengers, if you bring someone with you onto exit 3113R, they may fall asleep immediately. They may start weeping quietly, repeating names you've never heard. If you make it back, they won't remember the trip, but they'll talk in their sleep for weeks afterward. One mother claimed her son wouldn't stop whispering. The other version of me liked it better. He stayed. Current status local authorities deny the existence of any such exit, citing urban legend contamination of GPS error reports. And yet, multiple travelers each year report vivid recollections of the same journey down Cold Lantern Way. Some swear they can still smell the wet earth. Others say their cars make clicking sounds at 3:13 a.m., no matter where they are. And some keep their mirrors covered, just in case. You don't remember falling asleep, but you wake with your hands on the steering wheel, headlights off, windshield fogged from the inside. Your phone is dead. The radio hums softly, caught in a static loop that sounds just barely like breathing, and there it is, standing crooked in your high beams. Mile 313. Except this time, there's no other marker before or after it. The road just loops, flat, fogged, and unfamiliar. But you keep driving, because something behind you is walking. The loop begins, time bends here. You pass the same deer carcass 3 times. The same shoe in the ditch, child-sized, waterlogged, toe pointing east. You see the outline of a gas station, its sign blank, its windows too dark, too deep. When you blink, it's gone. Every attempt to turn around only brings you back. But something changes with each loop. The fog grows darker, not thicker, like smoke without fire. The road lines warp, forming fractured symbols. A faint glow appears in your rearview mirror, not headlights, but eyes mile marker. With your name, eventually, the marker changes. Mile 313, your name carved, not printed, like it's always been there, waiting to be uncovered. Somewhere far away, you think you hear your own voice say, "You drove too far to turn back now." And then you see it, a figure in the road, standing sideways, like a photograph unfolded wrong. It doesn't move. It waits. The passenger seat you. Haven't looked at it. But you feel it. Heavier than air, denser than shadow. Something is sitting there now. It shifts slightly, like a body adjusting its weight. And then, for the first time, it speaks. All roads return to what you never admitted. You don't want to look, but you already did. Your passenger is you. Or maybe the version of you that didn't leave that night, the one who stayed, the one who answered, the one who remembered what you buried. The toll for forgetting. The rules of mile marker 313 were never about haunting. They were about remembering. Each story, each figure, each wrong turn, a thread tied to choices you thought time could erase. But the highway remembers. You don't pay with blood. You pay with memory, and now, your reflection blinks before you do. Final transmission. A recovered black box from an abandoned Minnesota State Patrol cruiser captured a 13-second transmission before going dead. Child's voice, distorted. The road ends where you last told the truth. Silence. And if you lie again, you'll drive forever. One final sound, a seatbelt clicking shut. End of report. If you ever find yourself near Highway 43, just outside Northbridge, and you pass a battered green sign with peeling paint and no number, don't slow down. Don't check your mirror. And whatever you do, don't stop at mile marker 313. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. I hope the rain helped you relax, even if the story kept your eyes wide open. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want more creepy calm like this. I release new horror every week. Until next time, I'm Saga Twist. Sleep well, if you can.